Going by the extension of strike by the Academic Staff Union of Universities ASU for another 4 weeks, it means students will have to stay away from the classroom for another 30 days, and this would have stretched the strike for a little above 6 months. That is, if no prompt action is taken to call it off.
Today, we are continuing our discussion on the ongoing strike, but this time, we shall be looking at efforts, the impact of the prolonged industrial action, of course, the way forward. A very good morning to you and welcome to the program Midweek Connect. My name is Ufoma Isegine.
Agatha Egware Ojo, a very good morning to you. Thank you for joining us.
Hope you didn't have problems getting to work today.
No, it was probably would. In fact, it's something I don't want to relive. Yesterday was crazy, but today it's a bit calm.
It was not a tea party at all.
It wasn't a tea party.
Spending like 4 hours in traffic to get to work. We
actually left, we got to work quite early yesterday from TV Road. We left around past 11 to Ugbowo. Finished what we were doing there by 12, and then we were trapped. We actually got back to TV Road again around 4:30 in the evening. It wasn't, I don't want to relive it because we had to pass, the alternative route that's through the University of Benin, behind UBTH.
You've never been to.
Yes, I had to pass very close to Federal Government Guest College by their fence, and even those areas were blocked. The people living around there will say, what is happening that people are even passing here today? What is happening? And the whole place was blocked.
I just hope they resolve this issue. I hope it has been resolved, because today, it appears like
that everywhere is calm and free flow of traffic. Yes. At least from till now, it's a free flow of traffic.
Okay, that was yesterday. Today we are looking at the ASU strike and the effects on the impact of the strike. And our guest is already in the studio. We shall be looking at that during our main course, which is a discussion segment. And of course, we have that segment where you can call. I know this issue is something that touches a lot of people. So you have that segment where you can call, ask questions, share your thoughts, and be a part of the program. And our Kickstarter, like I always call it, the News Tidbits.
Okay, the News Tidbits, and we are starting from the blockade yesterday.
Okay.
Yes, it's what one can barely describe or can best describe as total blockade of the metropolis, as the major points, especially in and out of the city, were completely inaccessible, with rampaging commercial minibus drivers protesting government's insistence that they obtain color code and paint their vehicles to the approved colors to curb insecurity. Like we said earlier, our crew was trapped at the Ugbowo axis of the Benin-Lagos Expressway. And let's okay, you're seeing some of the shots of what transpired there yesterday. Oh boy.
Plenty of bus, we go and collect color code, and we heard they say it's 30,000 naira to collect color code. The painting of the bus, we heard they say it's 100,000 naira, which is about 130,000 naira. So we don't have that kind of money.
The time frame is an issue. You get me? Nobody work 30,000 naira keep for one place.
We are fighting for our right. Please give us time so that we can be able to raise money and have the paint.
All right, away from the protest yesterday, Governor Godwin Obaseki has identified mismanagement of resources as a major problem militating against the economic growth of the country. This was when he met leaders of the Nigeria Labour Congress and affiliate unions in the state on the lingering strike by public universities in the country.
It's because of mismanagement of the national government. If they were managing the resources of this country the way they should have, what we're talking about are not increasing.
We wrote to Mr. Governor over the suspension of union activities in some schools. Today we met with him. The matter, we have deliberated on it successfully.
Our beneficiaries have continued to laud federal government's drive towards supporting businesses to overcome challenges posed by COVID-19 pandemic. A town hall meeting was held in Edo to take a review of the scheme's achievements across the South geopolitical zone.
Having passed through that trials of the pandemic, our members had that assistance from the federal government of something to fall back on.
At the end of COVID-19, they helped us, they helped my organization.
If you put all the records together, we still have close to 500-600 persons that were not paid among all the number we registered in our office.
What we are doing today is to take stock. How far has it gone in the last 2 years? How many of the beneficiaries have we touched their lives?
All right, Foma, that's the news tidbits.
Yes. Terrible situation yesterday, but well, we'll be back, and when we return after this short break, shall have our guest in the studio. Do stay.
Coronavirus, also known as COVID-19, is an infectious disease that affects the respiratory system. Symptoms of coronavirus include fever, cough, shortness of breath. In more severe cases, infection can cause pneumonia or breathing problems. More rarely, the disease can be fatal, but that's mainly among older people with pre-existing conditions. The virus is transmitted through direct contact with respiratory droplets from an infected person and by touching surfaces that are contaminated. People should maintain at least 3 feet of distance between themselves and people who are coughing, sneezing, and have a fever. To prevent the coronavirus infection, wash your hands frequently for at least 20 seconds using soap and running water or alcohol-based hand rub, sanitizer, or gel. Cover your mouth and nose when coughing or sneezing. You can also use your elbow when sneezing or use a tissue, then throw it in the bin immediately. Avoid crowded areas. Anybody who shows symptoms of coronavirus should visit the hospital immediately. Prevention, they say, is better than cure. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA Benin Network Center.
Do you live in Aduawa and its environment, or you need a conducive and open field in Aduawa for your wedding receptions, birthday parties, annual ceremonies, family or corporate events in a serene and conducive environment that is close to nature? Then look no further. NTA Benin Aduawa is the place for you. NTA Benin Aduawa has a large field for all your other events and ceremonies. Also, at NTA Corporate Headquarters, TV Road, we have a state-of-the-art, fully air-conditioned, ultra-modern hall for all kinds of indoor events with a standby generating set to ensure constant power supply. We also have the NTA Pavilion for all your outdoors events at the same venue. Guess what? Our prices are affordable. Locations are easily accessible. Venues conducive and highly secure. Our outside broadcast van is available 24 hours and can broadcast your event live. And above all, you can air your event on our award-winning programs like Events and Style. Wow, what are you waiting for? Grab this opportunity and have your celebration in a grand style. For inquiries and bookings, please call NTA Benin, the award-winning station. It's exciting, it's captivating, it's reviving. Guess what? It's Press Vibes on NTA Benin Network Center. Join us every Saturday at 6 a.m. and a repeat broadcast every Sunday at 12:30 p.m. Extreme praise and worship is what we do here.
For sponsorship and advert placement, please call the producer on 0803-953-0689 or contact the marketing department on the numbers on your screen.
Come, let's spread the gospel through praise.
Even when I know that's my body going.
All right, thank you so much for staying tuned. If you're just joining us, you're right in time for the main business of today. We are continuing our discussions on the ongoing strike by ASU, but this time we are focusing on the effects of or on the impact of the strike. But don't forget that you can catch this program live on our YouTube channel, NTA Benin. And of course, that time will come when we'll open the phone lines for you to call in and make your contributions. Tell us what you think about the ongoing strike and the way forward. Our guest this year, Dr. Ray Chikogo. He's the chairman, ASU Uniben branch. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
All right.
Good morning. Good morning.
Okay, so let's take this background out to launch our discussions for today.
The Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, declared a nationwide strike on February 14 this year, 2022, over issues of poor welfare condition, failure to reach to a compromise between the union and the federal government on earlier agreements. Due to what the union termed failure of the government to meet with its request, the union has consistently announced extension of the industrial action. The recent announcement is a 4 weeks extension of the strike action. This development is said to be grounding academic activities across the Nigerian's public universities. Meanwhile, the extensive deliberations by the key players raised hope and expectations of lecturers and students that the lingering crisis will be resolved, but the hope was dashed when the strike action was rolled over for 4 weeks with effect from Monday, the 1st of August this year, 2022. However, the ASU announcement of an extension of its ongoing more than 5 months old strike by another 4 weeks, many say is a worrisome situation. This week's edition of Midweek Connects will x-ray the effect of the ongoing strike action by ASU, the recent rollover of the strike, and the effect on lecturers, students, and the entire higher education system and the way forward.
All right, there you have it, our subject matter for today. So, Dr. Ray, in simple terms, can you tell us what the strike is all about? What are the issues that seem can't be resolved? You know, what, in simple terms, let people understand what ASU is really struggling for, fighting for.
All right. I think the issues are very clear. It is that the union is requesting the federal government to renegotiate an agreement that it entered into with the union in 2009. Now, that agreement stands on 4 pillars. One of them is the conditions of service. The other is funding for the revitalization of university education. The third is university autonomy. And the fourth are other ancillary matters that may be related to the 3 that we have just outlined. And in that 2009 agreement, it was stated expressly that after every 3 years, that agreement will be due for review. What that means is that both parties, whether the federal government or ASU, can come up after 3 years to say that we have issues either implementing this agreement or we have issues coping with this agreement that we had signed 3 years ago. So the agreement left room for review of the content every 3 years. And so that by 2012, that agreement was due for review. By 2022, that agreement had been due for review 4 times. And so the content of that agreement also outlines a particular salary structure for university workers. And what the implication is that for 13 years, these university workers have been on the same salary for a whole of 13 years. And if you take all into account all what has happened to our economy, to prices and everything, you will see that university lecturers are living in abject poverty. They have been reduced to the point where even their personal dignity, integrity as a human beings is already reduced sufficiently. And so we are asking that it is important that you come back and review this agreement so that we can begin to earn wages that are comparable to what other people are earning, and what can also put us on a pedestal where we can maybe afford basic social amenities and facilities for ourselves and for our families. We need our children to be in school. We want our children to be in school. We want to live well. We want to eat well. We want to be able to pay our house rents. And we are not able to cope with any of these because we have been on that same salary for a period of 13 years. That is one angle of it. That's the condition of service. Then there is also the aspect of the funding of the universities for revitalization. In 2012 and 2013, the federal government on its own, after due pressure from ASU, decided to send a team across all the universities in the country on what they call need assessment. And then on their own, they discovered that the universities were in very abject conditions. And so they said on their own, they undertook that they will inject 220 billion naira every year for a period of 6 years. That was not ASU. ASU was not a part of that team. It was the government team that went around and took that decision. That was during the administration of Goodluck Jonathan. And so Goodluck Jonathan's administration released 200 billion. And since then up to this time, the only thing that has been added is 20 billion. So up to this moment, the only thing that has been injected into the system is 220 billion. In the stead of the 1.3 trillion that all of that would have amounted to in a period of 6 years. And so we are saying the universities, if you visit the universities and you find some of these as students, when some of them graduate, they come out, they are maladjusted because of the conditions under which they have learned. We have children in all of these places and we know what is happening. A classroom that is meant for about 20 or 30 people is housing about 200 students. Some of them, even the learning facilities are inadequate supply. And so some of them stand by the window, some sit on the floor to receive lectures. And we say that this thing cannot continue. We want to produce graduates who will be globally competitive so that when they leave this place, we will be proud about what we have produced. It is not that our students don't have the potential. It is not that we don't have the intellectual capacity. All of those are bound here because all of these people also go out, and when they go out, they excel in all fields of human endeavor, in medicine, in science, in engineering. You hear about Nigerians, exploits of Nigerians across the globe, everywhere. So the problem is the environment we are creating for our people, and we are saying all of these things need to change. And then also, there's also the question of the University Transparency Accountability System, which is the payment platform that ASU had developed for the payment of university workers. What happened was that when IPs was forced on a university, that touches on the question of university autonomy that we talked about. The University Act empowers the councils of the universities to run the affairs of the universities without interference from the federal government. And so we said that the IPs that they have conscripted all university staffs into is not appropriate for the university system. That the university system is peculiar and it's not exactly the same thing as core civil service. The IPs payment platform.
What are some of those peculiarities? Can you assume? Yeah,
some of the peculiarities, for example, in the university system, if you are about to, for example, undertake accreditation, for example, and you find that the staffing in a particular department or faculty is inadequate, you can, at very short notice, engage qualified personnel to fill certain vacancies, certain positions, so that that department can qualify for accreditation. But with the IPs, what happens is that if you need to employ anybody, you will first of all apply to the head of service and get approval from the head of service before employments are made. So that impedes the smooth running of the university system. Again, across the world, it's a global academic tradition that you will find that lecturers, after every 7 years, will be allowed to go on sabbatical to further develop themselves, to exchange ideas with persons from either other universities or other continents or countries, so that you come back refreshed to give more service to your own local university. And so the IPs does not account for the question of sabbatical or even adjunct lectureship. There are times, for example, a university may be established for a particular purpose, maybe the Universities of Agriculture. But there are certain components of their program that will require them, for example, to understand some things about the legal aspect of agriculture. So what they need to do, because they don't have a law faculty, because they are not allowed to do so, they will go somewhere else where there is a law faculty, engage a law lecturer who will come over and deliver the lectures for that particular program. And so when you go there as an adjunct lecturer, you expect to be paid for the job you are doing there. The IP's payment platform does not capture that. So if they
just
find
for your payment for the month.
Yes.
IP's captured.
Yes. So what they only capture, just like the core civil service, the basic things, but all of these other things that are peculiar to the university system are not accounted for. And so when we discussed with the federal government, they said, all right, if you don't want IPs, go and develop something else that you think can take the place of IPs. Maybe they expected that we didn't have the capacity to do that. But we did that within a very short period of time and made it available to them. And this is homegrown technology that we have made available to them free of charge. It is millions of times way ahead of IPs. With what we have seen in our country, the arrest and then the ongoing trial of the Accountant General of the Federation attests to that the IP's platform is fraudulent and is porous. And then we have developed a system that is impregnable, and the integrity is high of UTAS, but they have refused to deploy that for the payment of...
I want to ask this, sorry, before you ask a follow-up question, let me just say this. You talked about funding of universities, autonomy for the university, welfare of workers.
Of staff.
So, if government meets the welfare of workers and the UTAS thing is resolved, would you call up the strike?
If they meet the welfare of staff and if they deploy UTAS, I'm certain that our union will consider seriously the possibility of suspending the strike. So
what about the autonomy and the funding issue?
Does that mean that, like some people say, that the lecturers are actually after their salaries, not the talk about welfare of the schools, that the funding for universities, the billions of naira you talked about? Because if you say you can call up the strike, you consider it once your welfare is taken care of, then it's all about you.
I just mentioned
the system.
Yeah, I just mentioned that there were three capital points: university autonomy, and that is where the UTAS comes in, because the introduction of IPs is an infringement on the university autonomy. So if they deploy UTAS, it means that the issue of university autonomy has been handled.
Doc.
Then
okay.
Then if they also attend to the issue of the payment of salaries, that is the conditions of service. Now the funding we have talked about, if you go around the universities today, including the state universities, you will find infrastructure that are essentially put there by TED Fund. And TED Fund, again, is the brainchild of ASU. Because at the time that initial agreement was renegotiated, the federal government said they didn't have the resources to fund the agreement. And we said we can tell you how to generate resources to fund education adequately in this country. And that was how we came up with the education tax fund that eventually metamorphosed into TED Fund. So if you go around the campuses, that is the effort of ASU. There's nobody who can take credit for all the tenfold projects you find across the universities. In some universities, the only buildings you find there are built by TED Fund, especially the state universities. So if ASU is not bothered about structure, about infrastructure, why did we go all the length to ensure and even make suggestions about how monies can be generated for this purpose?
Autonomy.
I also told you again that the needs assessment that the government undertook between 2012 and 2013 had to take an ASU strike. It took an ASU strike to get government to constitute that team to go around and undertook on their own that they will inject 1.3 trillion into the university system for facilities in the universities, for hostels, for libraries, for classroom facilities, for lab equipment and reagents and all of that.
So what
Now,
you are
this
saying is
university
that,
autonomy.
sorry, in the last 8 years, these are 2009 agreement, nothing has been done about the agreement.
Nothing has been done about the agreement. Practically nothing has been done about the agreement. In 2017 was when eventually the government agreed to constitute a team to renegotiate that agreement under then Dr. Wale Babalaki. But that process went on for about 3 years and nothing came out of it. Eventually, he was replaced by Professor Muzali Jibril, who midwifed the process, and then in 2021, the process was concluded. A draft agreement was developed, and then for a whole year, nothing was done with that draft agreement. Only for the federal government to come up in 2022 to reject that agreement and say it was signed in error. It was drafted in error. And then again, now in 2022, on their own again, they have reconstituted another renegotiating committee. That was in April of this year, because we embarked on our strike in February. After about a month, they reconstituted that team under the leadership of Professor Nimi Briggs. And that committee concluded its work on the 16th of June. So as we speak, there's another draft document that the team set up by government has also developed. And so we are saying, you sign the agreement and begin implementation so that we can all go back to work.
Nimi Briggs
Committee,
agreement.
yes. And so
but that same agreement that NASU is always NASU is also pointing fingers at, that it wasn't done in good faith, that they weren't properly captured there.
Well, I can't answer that question. I don't know, because all the unions were called to negotiate with the committee. So we didn't negotiate on behalf of any union. We negotiated on behalf of our union and our members. And so maybe we'll ask those unions whether did they negotiate, did they take a proposal to the government, and what was the outcome of the process of the
because
interaction
from what I read, 10% increment for NASU, and they're saying that it will now be an issue of when ASU calls off its strike, we have another strike looming again, you know.
That is basically that is misinformation from the Minister of Labour, because he doesn't appear to want this process to come to an end.
Well, that's
my niece asked me, told me something this morning before I left home, and she said, "Please, Uncle, let me ask the guests that you're having today. Yeah. Why is it that they are always having problems in ASU, and the people who negotiate, who are ministers and all of, they are all members of ASU, professors. You just talked of professors, who are people in the academic."
Exactly. I just told you that.
What seems to be the problem?
That's the issue. It's the problem of governance. I just mentioned Professor Muzali Jibril negotiated an agreement and submitted to the government, and the government has refused to do anything with the document.
Okay, now
Nimi Briggs has done another one, concluded the process, and the government has refused to do anything with the document. So it's not the question of the professors who are at the negotiating table. The problem is with those who have the responsibility of implementing.
In charge of education.
What?
The professors are the ones in charge of the education sector.
Like which professor is in charge of the education sector in Nigeria today?
Before today.
Huh?
Before today.
Before today, who was there?
You mentioned names.
I mentioned people who negotiated on behalf of government, not on behalf of ASU.
Okay.
I'm talking about person that were appointed by government to negotiate on their behalf.
All right,
okay. I want to go to the issue of autonomy.
Sorry, let's open the phone lines at 081-4969-3115 and 081-1295-1755. You can call in and make your contributions on the program. Yes, Mama.
The issue of autonomy.
Yes.
This autonomy you talked about, how does it work in the universities? Because from what I have gathered, it appears it is only when it comes to salaries that universities are supposed to be autonomous.
if you're autonomous, then you should sort of fund yourself. You should run the place yourself, and not wait for government to pay salaries.
There is an act. There is an act by the National Assembly establishing universities. That act was not drafted by members of ASU or academics. That act says that government will be responsible for the funding of education.
Shouldn't ASU be fighting to change that too?
No, we will not change it. If the government feels there's a problem with an act that they have promulgated.
If that is the problem now, because you said the TED fund.
It's not a problem for us.
It's a brainchild. No,
it's not a problem for us. It's a problem for government.
It now looks like it's a problem, not just for us, but for everybody.
So if those who promulgated that act should then go back and repeal the act.
That should be one of the points for ASU. That's what I'm thinking.
No, it's not a problem for us.
Because TED fund is your baby. TED fund is your baby, like you
know
said.
why it's not a problem for us? Even in the Nigerian constitution, it is enshrined there that education will be the right of every Nigerian child. And that means that the federal government will be responsible for the funding of education up to university level. If you are aware, many of us, we went to school, free education.
So what is now this autonomy?
Free education. The autonomy is in terms of the running of the affairs of the university itself.
Now, because I seem to have a problem with, you want the government. You are telling him you have I employ a maid in my house, and the maid is telling me this is how you must pay me.
Okay, you see that analogy is completely inappropriate. The maid you have employed that maid with your own resources.
Yes.
With your own wealth that you have generated by yourself. The people who are running government today have not come to governance with a dime. They are managing our resources, not their resources. So the question of the piper dictating the tune does not apply here at all. You must get it clear.
Yes.
I take, for example, Buhari. So we say that we are employed by the federal government, and so because Buhari is the head of government, we say we are employed by the federal by Buhari. Buhari has not contributed a kobo of his own money.
No, but the government
to the resources of this country.
What the government?
So if we say we have elected people to run our affairs,
no,
and we're in a democracy.
Doc, what I mean is this: if you are saying the president is a representative, symbolizes the government. Now the government is saying that this is how we want to pay you, and you are saying no, you can't pay me like that.
What you need to understand when you say the government, I just asked the question. We are in a democracy.
Yes,
I believe, and the people will determine how they want to be led.
The workers will determine how they want to be paid.
Is that what you are saying?
Is that what you are saying? The workers will also determine how they will be paid. Is that what you're saying?
So what is the concept of collective bargaining in labor laws? So why can a worker come up and say, this is what I want to earn and not this? Or if I've earned this salary over a period of time, we don't think it is feasible anymore. We want something else. So see, we are not in a lawless society. So any individual cannot come and say because he's in government today, he wants to dictate how things will be. We are in a sane society. If you go to other climes, this happening here don't happen like this. You have continuity. You have clear-cut plans, definitive plans and programs and policies, for example, for every sector. So that it is not a situation where one person mounts the saddle today and says this is what we want. And then by the next day, all of those things are dismantled and we are starting afresh. So we are saying there should be a system. The university system should be a system. It should be organized. It should be clearly outlined and clearly defined. So it is not for this person, because you are the one in the position to do, you say this is how it will be, and then after 8 years when somebody comes and says he wants something else,
hello,
then we'll have a very chaotic society.
Sorry, we have a caller. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
Yes, please turn down the volume on your TV set, please. Yes,
good morning.
Yes. Let's meet you. Your name first. Your name and where you're calling from.
Okay.
Yes.
You people are supposed to understand this government is to you. The case of the problem is coming from. It's not that pitch. The fact is not clear. Then I will be taking Abuja. In this dispensation, this is supposed to strike and last the next year. This man will not care. So I wish you good luck. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
But all of what he has said about payment and all of that, it's still part of the struggle. But I'm thinking about the effect. If, for instance, the strike is called off this week, anything can happen. It can be called off anytime.
Certainly.
Yes. What happens to the student? What happens to the backlog? How do you meet up the lost ground?
Let me pay, like I said, my niece asked me to ask you a lot of questions. Like, now, we still have year one students. You are fighting for the university system, like you say. The students, both the students and yourself. Now, you have year one students. JAM has conducted
yes, exactly.
exams now for another set of year one students. Are we going to have year 1A, year 1B if eventually you call off the strike? Because
yes, that's it. How do you
know? This is the question you should be asking the government. I want to ask you.
You are the one on strike.
No, I'm on strike.
Yes.
I'm on strike for a reason. I'm on strike for a reason. The question we should be asking. One of the reasons why
you're on strike is because of the students. You want to make sure that they come out, yes, good. They don't sit down on the floor. They don't sit on the floor and stay by the window to receive lectures. That's part of the changing the whole system. And now, the same students you are fighting for, they're still suffering.
So the question, that's where I'm coming to. The questions you are saying now, whether you have student year 1A, year 1B, and year 1C, are you also considering when they actually come in, where will they be? In what classrooms will they receive their lectures? Are you also thinking of that? When you now have 3 sets of year 1, are you also considering in what classrooms will they be receiving their lectures simultaneously?
No,
with the other year 2, year 3, and year 4?
Because of the strike, that's why we're having year 1. That's why we're having A, B,
so the question
and
is,
C.
See, you are looking at the symptoms. You are failing to look at the root cause. Why are there strikes at all in the first place? UNESCO recommends that every government, if you want to have a stable and functional pragmatic educational system, you should commit at least 26% of your budget, annual budget, to funding education. If you go to supposedly poorer countries like Kenya, like Uganda, like Ghana, you will see what they are doing with the educational system, to the point that even Nigerians are living here to attend universities in some of these countries.
Is that part of your demand? One of your demands?
No, I'm giving you an illustration.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm saying that the reason we are going on strike, is because the universities are poorly funded. Education is poorly funded. When some of us were young, we had expatriate whites who were our teachers here, and we had students who were coming from other countries, and we're sitting in the same classrooms with them because our system was attractive. Today, you will not find any foreigner in any Nigerian university because the situation is deplorable. You will not find any expatriate coming to look for a job in Nigeria because what we pay as salary is a joke. In a country like Uganda, for example, they pay the equivalent of 2 million naira to a professor every month. In Nigeria, a professor earns between 330,000 to 400,000. Are you seeing the difference? But you expect that these people must come to school. They must remain in school, they must continue to teach because there are children in school who needs to be educated. There are going to be 3 sets of year 1 who needs to be educated. What about these own people? What about their own children? Are you giving any consideration for the children of these people? Do you believe in all sincerity that with 300,000 naira a professor can train his child through school without issues? He will feed from there, he will pay house rent from there, he will do other things from there, he will publish from there, from 300,000. So I'm saying that we should look beyond the symptoms. You are looking at the effects of the strike. Part of what we need to do is to critically examine the root causes of strikes in the first place. So Nigerian government in the past 8 years has not committed anything more than 8% of the annual budget to education, how do you think it will function properly? So those are the issues we are seeing. All the government needs to do is to commit more resources to the funding of education. No country can grow beyond the level of its education. If we are thinking that security problems will disappear overnight, it will not. All of them are linked to the deficiency of our educational system.
Okay, you
all
talked
of those
about
who are being recruited into various gangs and all of that is because of the absence of education, is ignorance. So the only way you can talk about national growth and integration is to fund education properly. So that is why I say this question you are asking, call the minister and say, why is it that in other countries, is this how their university staff are proceeding on strike on a frequent basis? Are you telling me that if you were employed in this place in 2009 and you are earning the same salary till today, you would have left this place?
Hello.
Hello.
Okay,
we lost that call. You just talked about problems of insecurity. That is what is facing Nigeria today. Now, a large chunk of the youths are at home and no school. Don't you think it's a worrying situation now?
It is a disturbing situation. That's what I'm saying. It's a disturbing situation, but we can arrest that. This strike in itself was avoidable. About 2 weeks ago, we are told that the president of this country mandated the Minister of Education to ensure that in 2 weeks, all of these issues are resolved. There are two questions there. One, why did it take the whole of 5 months before that mandate was extended to the Minister of Education? Why did it take the whole of 5 months? When the strike was declared on the 14th of February 2022, why didn't the federal government at that time say the minister should resolve the matter in 2 weeks?
Doc, it's better late than never.
Exactly. Now, those 2 weeks have elapsed. And we have not heard anything.
2 weeks?
Yes.
Has it elapsed?
It has. From the day that mandate was given, it elapsed yesterday.
Doc, there's something I want to ask now. I asked that question last week. Yeah. Now, if the government, federal government, says, okay, education minister, come in. Now, and the education minister, I remember saying that ASU should call off the strike, at least as an act of goodwill, for them to negotiate. So why is ASU not looking at that?
You remember that in 2020, ASU was on strike. That strike was suspended in December of 2020 after the government undertook that before the end of December of 2020 that all the matters would have been resolved. And so throughout 2021, nothing happened. ASU was not on strike throughout 2021, 12 calendar months. Why didn't the government negotiate then and resolve the issues? If they were sincere, if the issue was ASU being on strike, ASU stayed at the end of December 2020. ASU stayed for the whole of 2021 and didn't go on strike. And we were engaging the government. We explored all the avenues. We saw the president. We met with the chief of staff of the president, Professor Ibrahim Gambari. We met with the Senate president. We met with the Speaker of the House of Reps. We met with the Governors Forum. Throughout 2021, nothing happened. They didn't tell the minister then that he should, in 2 weeks, take that mandate and resolve all the issues. It was only when we embarked on a strike that marching order was given to the minister.
2 weeks is a very short period.
No, we didn't pronounce 2 weeks. We didn't pronounce 2 weeks. We didn't say 2 weeks.
No, what I'm saying is, if the government is saying for 2 weeks,
yes,
and the minister say, okay, please call off the strike for these 2 weeks.
So I just asked
an act of goodwill.
An act of goodwill which we extended throughout the whole of 2021.
So are you saying no more acts of goodwill?
Why didn't the government take advantage? Why did the government leverage on that goodwill for 12 months? If they didn't do it for 12 months, is it in 2 weeks they will do it? You see, in a process and in a society where trust and confidence is deficient, you will find things like this. So we have had series of engagements with government. They will make promises, and that is why you find, for example, that people now say that ASU embarks on incessant strikes, because you engage them, just as you are saying. They now say, okay, go back, we will negotiate, and at the end of the day, they don't negotiate. You are compelled again to embark on another strike, and then you have a recurring cycle of ugly strikes that are avoidable. So this time, I will first of all address the question of the students you were talking about. Let me tell you something about the students. Every university lecturer who is aged between 45 and above has a child in the university. Some 1, some 2, some 3 in the universities across this country, because they don't have the resources to take their children to private schools or to schools abroad. In other words, a large percentage of the children you are complaining about are children of the same lecturers. These same lecturers have been at home now. This is the 6th month without pay, without salary. On the 12th of May, the Nigerian Labour Congress, when they saw that the government was not showing any sense of sincerity in terms of resolving this crisis, the Nigerian Labour Congress intervened. And then on the 12th of May, a tripartite meeting was called involving all the unions and the Nigerian Labour Congress, including also the Nigeria Interreligious Council, led by His Eminence Saad Abubakar III, the Sultan of Sokoto, and then the then CAN president, Samson Ayokunle. And then they met, and then they suggested, the Nigerian Interreligious Council suggested that while this process of resolving this crisis is on, restore the salaries of these people who are on strike, so that we can pave the way for a more amicable resolution of the crisis. The Minister of Labour did everything possible to frustrate that suggestion. And so up to this moment, the lecturers you are talking about now have been at home with their children who are out of school without salaries. That is one aspect of it. So the other aspect I was saying about the tools that was now given. So these lecturers now, when they go back to work now, September is by the corner, schools will be resuming. Our children are supposed to be going back to school. The resources to take them to school are not there. But we are thinking about the children of other people, because they are more important than the children of the university lecturers. As far as we are concerned, the children of the university lecturers should not matter. They don't mean anything. They should not be in class when the children of other persons are in class. When we have 3-year ones, how do we do them? We are not considering the children of these lecturers.
But they are part of the whole process. So they are also part of the whole process.
So I've said that, first of all, a large percentage of the children who are at home now are children of the lecturers. That is one. 2, we also have lecturers who have been engaged as graduate assistants. It means that they were engaged on the basis of the first degree that they have. And so,
sir, just hold on a bit. Hello, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Yeah, my name is Comrade Abi. I'm calling from Benin.
All right.
We
can hear you.
We can hear you.
Yeah, I just want to say, just unfortunately, I feel the pains of the Nigerian lecturers, and the federal government is not doing the needful. If the senators can see the bunch of money take home, what about the lecturers? That human being for crying out loud. If the lecturer could not able to lecture you, you can't be the Senate, you can't be in House of Rep, you can't be in National Assembly. The problem we are having in this country is just the leaders. By the special grace of God, I think our voters card will make a change. Thank you very much.
Thank you, comrade. Yes.
So I've mentioned one component of the student population in the university. The second component are those who were engaged as lecturers on the basis of their first degrees. And so for you to proceed in the system, you need to acquire higher degrees. And so the majority of them, again, who are undertaking their master's degrees programs are part of those who are at home without salary, without education. The next category are those who are also attempting to get higher education at the PhD level. So those who were probably from assistant lecturers, lecturer 2, lecturer 1. All of them are also students in various universities here. and they are at home, they can't get their degrees. Even if they have an intention, maybe to leave the university system and go elsewhere to work, they can't get those degrees because, of course, the schools are shut down. So you will find that about 40% of the students we are talking about are the lecturers themselves. So it's a tragic situation for Nigerian lecturers. A very tragic situation. Their children can't access education. They also can't access education. They are not getting salaries, and then they are at home. See, the point is, if ASU crumbles today, and I say it with all sense of seriousness and responsibility, if ASU crumbles today, this nation will be in a very deep shit. Because it's like they feel that they are engaging in a class war with ASU. This is the intellectual class. They don't want anyone who will question what is happening. You can see the rot across every segment of our society. Did you not hear that somebody took 109 billion? Do you know what that means? 109 billion. People have done the mathematics here and there. All the professors in Nigeria put together will not earn 109 billion through their lifetime.
No,
so it's not that our pain is that we have the means, we have the resources, we have the material. All we are saying, deploy all of these things in the right places, and then everything will be fine.
The means and the resources.
Yes.
ASU has that. Because I know, like you said, you came up with the idea of TED Fund.
We have suggested again. That is the thing. We have suggested. Listen, with this one, we have made further suggestions about where federal government can get the resources to fund this agreement. There was a workshop that was organized, and we went there and we told them, you go and introduce stamp duty. Stamp duty. When you make any deposit or withdraw, whatever you do, there's a particular percentage that the federal government collects. As at 2021, we have it on good authority that about 15 trillion had been generated from that source.
From the stamp duty?
Yes, not a penny. Not a penny of that money is in the Federation account. Are you not aware that since the beginning of this year, NNPC has not remitted a kobo?
Hello, do we have a call?
We have a
to the Federation account. Are you not aware?
Doc, let's take this call, please. Hello? Hello?
Oh, sorry, I think network problem. We can barely hear you. Hope you will call back.
Yes. So when someone comes and says there's no money, we should be worried that in a country like Nigeria, how immensely blessed we are, we can come up and say there's no money.
Look, this I'm still going back to this autonomy thing. Is there no way that you can fashion out something where you make money and it is used within the system for the universities,
yes,
rather than going to
make money from where? Make money from where? That is, we should leave our academics. We should leave,
like these ideas you talked about.
No, I said I just gave you two examples.
Yeah, and that's
We mentioned TED Fund.
Yes.
We
now,
mentioned
if
it cannot be done locally.
I don't know ways to do it locally. That's what I'm asking.
How can you do it? That's for in Benin, for example, we now impose taxes on the residents of Benin to pay university lecturers
within the university. Make sachet water, pure water, bottled water, things like that to get revenue for the university within the university.
No, that's what I'm saying. How do you do that? In Edo State, for example, will you collect tax on behalf of the state government?
No, no, you won't. What I'm saying is, like you bottle water. Okay. It is produced. I know Uniben produces bottled water, sachet water. Those are like kind of IGR within the university.
Let me tell you something. Even that practice is an aberration in the university system. It's an aberration where you now turn the universities to business centers. What is supposed to happen is that there should be a collaboration between the university and the industries. So the university will produce manpower, generate ideas that will run the industries. the university should not be turned to industries on their own. So what you find now that many universities are engaged in trying to survive is an aberration. If you go to universities outside of this place, is that what you find? The places that we run to on a daily basis, is that what you find there? That they now produce pure water and all of that. It is not out of place for the universities to engage and maybe in ventures that can maybe generate resources to augment what they have. But if we are now going to say that is the sole means of the survival of the universities, so what time will the university lecturers have to research? What time will they have to teach if they have to leave all of this and engage in something else to generate resources for the university?
Okay, just before we go, Doc, you haven't answered my question. I said, if the strike is called off now, how do you cover lost grounds?
It's not the first time we have gone on strikes. And that is why we insist that when we are on strike, because of the nature of our job, we are employed to teach, to research, and engage in community service, like what I'm doing here today. You are not going to pay me any money for appearing here. It's part of my service to my community. And so when the strikes are suspended, what happens normally is that we don't now proceed. For example, we're in second semester. We won't now proceed to a new session. We must go back as of a necessity to conclude the job that was not done.
Okay.
No class is skipped. So we go back and we must do the job. The only problem which affects all of us is that some time is lost. Like the period we have now been on strike, about 5 months, is lost.
And it's lost forever.
No,
you can't recover.
It's lost, unfortunately. So the point we are making, first of all, is that, one, this strike was avoidable. This strike was avoidable. It would appear that there are persons in government who do not want university education in Nigeria to succeed. It will appear that those who are bent on destroying university education in this country, from what we are seeing, they have done that to primary education. And so you don't find any quality public school anywhere in this country. At the primary level. You don't find it at the secondary level. We have all gone to private schools. As we are talking now, the same government that says they don't have the resources to fund education, in the House of Assembly, there are 63 bills awaiting consideration for the establishment of new universities. 63 new universities.
Okay. All right, Doc.
All right. Thank you so much, Doc. I think here we call it a day. Thank you so much, Dr. Chikogu, for your time on Midweek Connect this morning.
Thank you very much.
And just to say that the views and opinions expressed on this edition of this program are strictly the views of the ASU chairman, Dr. Chikogu, and not the opinion of NTA. Thank you so much for your time. We'll see you again next week. Bye.